Oh, it's about that time again. I know you were wondering, where is our Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap? Look, life has been lifing, but it is here. And I want to mention this to you guys first. For if you're subscribed to the podcast, then you already have heard this recap in the future, I'm predicting. Along with my review and just takeaways from the Maxwell and Jasmine Sullivan concert that was here in New York City this past week. I'm going to make those thoughts and everything exclusive to this version, the audio version of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap. So make sure you subscribe to the Kempire podcast so you don't miss out on anything, especially like our special podcast exclusive episodes like the Kempire After Dark New York City live show, still available there, but for a limited time. Anyways, I say all that to say, let's get into our recap of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and some side stories that we need to talk about. And we have to talk about the Real Housewives of New York, taglines, and rate them.
Here we go now.
It's getting a little icy in here. I don't want to get the snow started too early here in New York City. It's not even feeling like winter at all. It was a humid day on, when was it, Thursday. OMG. Even though we had this hurricane, the remnants of the hurricane that we're feeling, the rain and things like that from, it's a perfect day to stay in and have a cup of tea or something with a little lavender honey that you guys got for me for my housewarming gift with some peppermint tea. Okay, sorry. Just sounds so cozy. Anyways, I'm not going to keep the snow going in front of me the entire time. But anyways, let's get into our Real Housewives conversation. And when I say Real Housewives conversation, I want to first talk about the Real Housewives of New York. As you know, their new season is going to premiere in about a week. In about a week, we will see the new season of the Real Housewives of New York. I'm excited for it. I know some people, and I'm even looking at Bravo's Instagram, and some people are saying they're bored with this cast. They want everyone to bring back the original cast. I don't see that happening. I think you guys need to let that go. I don't think last season was that bad. Go check my reviews. It started off really strong. When we got to the group trip, that's where they kind of lost me. And I'm excited for some of the new people that will be involved because it might be a perfect replacement for some people that just need to move on. We'll see. I will say this, and you guys will let me know. I don't know if I'm over Real Housewives or I'm over recapping it. Because in preparation for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap, I was like, it's not that I didn't want to talk about it. It's not like Love and Marriage Huntsville. It's not that I didn't want to talk about it, but I was sort of like, this is starting to feel like work instead of fun. And you already know, I'm already hinting at you guys, I might be transitioning into something else. I enjoy talking about all the other things. I like our informal lives. I love having this conversation with you guys. But talking about Real Housewives, we'll see. Maybe one of these new Real Housewives shows that are coming in regards to Potomac is coming. We also have New York coming. And there's another one, right? Atlanta's coming. Maybe that will reinvigorate my passion for talking about some of these shows. But a lot of these shows have gotten so toxic. They've gotten so predictable. They've gotten so pre-produced. A lot of the new housewives are coming on these shows and they are self-producing and they are so hungry for fame that they will do anything to anyone. And I'm not that invested. I know there are a lot of fans that are very much invested. I don't care that much. I love the show. I will watch the show if it's entertaining. But if it starts to come into like my real life or people are too toxic, like the fan bases, like New Jersey fan base becomes too toxic, I'm out. I'm out. To me, it's not worth it. There's so many great content to talk about in this world. I don't need this one. Just saying. Did y'all see Worst Ex Ever? Sorry. I'm not going to bring that up anymore. Worst Ex Ever, for those that haven't seen it on Netflix, go watch it and then get back to me. For those that may have missed us talking about Worst Ex Ever. All right. I say all that to say, what did I want to talk about? Oh, Real Housewives of New York. The taglines dropped this week. I did want to talk about it and rate them. And you guys will let me know your ratings. If you're part of the replay crew, you'll be sure to let me know your ratings as well. I went on a little bit of a rant, but I'm entitled to my channel. For those that were like, can you get rid of the countdown? Can you stop talking about this? You don't have to be here. No one is holding you here. Our growing community enjoys the sidebars. They enjoy the countdown. The sidebar to the sidebar. Those in the replay that complain about the countdown, you had the benefit of fast forwarding. So I don't understand the complaints, and understand it's not that many people complain, it's one or two. But that is a little baffling to me. You can fast forward. The live folks, I apologize, can't. Like, I understand their complaints, but those of you that are... Anyways, I've digressed again. Real Housewives of New York will be premiering, what is it, October 6th or something like that? Okay. So, their taglines, Jenna effing Lyons. Okay, so Jenna Lyons, sidebar. Oh, damn. But it's related. The newbie, Rebecca Minkoff, you know, the fashion designer, apparently admitted that she joked with Jenna, like, we should do like a fake fight about fashion. And Jenna Lyons is like, no, I'm good. But she said she was joking. I don't know if she was serious. I'm keeping an open mind until I don't. When I see how everything is edited and played out. And even when it's edited and played out, I remind you guys, you're watching an edited show. So anything that we feel about these people, I leave it to the show. If I meet them in person, I keep an open mind. I really do. Because I'm sure they're lovely in person. All right, Jenna Lyons. Her tagline is, not everyone can be Jenna effing Lyons, but they can try. I like it. I like it. I know some people will be like, oh God, now she's feeling herself. We shall see. I just can't imagine Jenna Lyons really ever feeling herself. She's achieved so much in this world. If she wasn't feeling herself before Real Housewives, I don't know what would make her feel herself. She looks great though. This look that she's giving us, I love how she's able, this is her sense of style. It's giving sexy, feminine, but yet masculine at the same time. I love that. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. Not everyone can be Jenna effing Lyons, but they can try. I'm going to give this an 8. I thought that, and I might be generous with that. And I'm hungry. So then there's that. Jessel Tank. So a lot of you hyped up Jessel Tank last season. Now, this is someone that I could see allowing the funk to go to her brain. However, I will give her this. Because everyone's really was like, oh my God, Jessel. She really, like, her fashion, like, she's really stepped it up. I love her stuff on Instagram, and she looks gorgeous. She looks gorgeous in her outfit for the promo for RHONY. So I love what she's done in regards to her PR, but she's in PR, so she knows what she's doing. But you guys hyped her up to a point where I was like, I'm not falling for it. All right, so her tagline, I'm not up and coming, I'm already there. Boom. I like it. I think this is solid. I think this is solid. And again, these taglines give us an idea of what their season is going to be about, the theme for them. I like this. I'm not up and coming. I'm already there. I think it's solid. It's not my favorite, but I'm going to give it a 7.5. I'm going to give it a 7.5, which is good. A 7.5 is good. All right. And look, Erin's dress is sexy. I'm like, wow. And no matter what people want to say, if you liked Erin or you didn't like Erin, she was definitely a power player last season, carrying the season with some other folks. She says this in her tagline: "In the cocktail of life, a New Yorker is never shaken nor stirred." Oh, I like this one, Erin. I like this. This is real life reactions right now, y'all. In the cocktail of life, a New Yorker is never shaken nor stirred. Okay, Kyle Richards always mentioning where she's from. I like this though. I think this is might be my theme as a New Yorker. This is my theme. I always find it funny when you guys see me in the wild. You're like, I didn't know you lived in New York. I always mention it. Anyways, I like this. This might be one of my favorites so far. I'm gonna give this a 9. I might upgrade it later, but I like this one. I might give it a 10. I really like this one. In the cocktail of life, a New Yorker is never shaken nor stirred. It's truth though. I'm giving it a 10. It's a 10. Sigh. Is this going to be Sigh's redemption season? I hope so. I hope so for her. I still feel like Sigh brought a lot last season. She brought us a lot of depth. She brought us a lot of story last season. So I'm open to Sigh coming back this season. And I mean, she wasn't my favorite person last season, but she leaned into the role of the villain. So here's her tagline: "I may be hungry, but at least I'm not thirsty." Here's the thing. We have to keep in mind, these housewives don't get to choose their taglines. I think they submit some, but also production has some for them. It's not their final decision on what's chosen. Keep that in mind. I may be hungry, but at least I'm not thirsty. It's just kind of especially from Sai, because I do see Sai as a power player from last season as well. And I love her outfit. Her outfit, I mean, she's definitely giving, for an Instagram influencer, or whatever you want to call her, she's giving a look. I like this look on her. Hair, makeup, everything looks great. They all look great from their shoot. So I didn't love this though. I gotta give it a 5.5. I just feel like I may be hungry, but at least I'm not thirsty. Maybe it'll make more sense during the season, but I don't love it. Uba looks amazing. I mean, she is a model, but damn. Okay. Uba says, "Love looks good on me, but darling, what doesn't?" She did darling. She mentions, she uses the word darling in her one from last season, right? I love this one though. Hold on, wait a minute. Love looks good on me, because she's in that relationship with that man. Love looks good on me, but darling, what doesn't? This is good. I'm giving this a 10. I'm sorry. I wasn't ready for this. This is my real life reaction, y'all. Love looks good on me, but darling, what doesn't? Yes, I like that. All right, let's move on, because I know you guys are waiting for a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap. All right. Bryn, I saw the Bravo. Was it Bravo that went to your new apartment? Your rental, which is fine. A lot of people here in New York City rent. But you do a good job with setting it up together. At first, when we go into Bryn's apartment, I thought it was just the room, the bedroom, and the couch, TV area. I was like, because I'm so used to New York, that's what it is. But then when you go through her apartment tour, no, there's more to this beautiful apartment. I like it. It looks good. Bryn says this: "Why date their dad when you can just be mother?" Oh. Because that one makes you have to kind of because a lot of people want to say Bryn is mother. I don't know why. But okay. Why date their dad when you can just be mother? Because remember, that's a throwback to what she said last season. I think this is cute. I think this is great. It's not my favorite because you do have to kind of think about it. All right. Bryn, I like it. I'm going to give it an 8.5. Maybe more of an 8 than it. But I like it. She looks gorgeous. This dress is gorgeous. Hair, makeup, gorgeous woman. All right. So the newest housewife that I forgot her name during my live with the Brooke Ashley, Raquel, who is a model, now artist. They kept this under wraps. I don't know if people just didn't care about RHONY, and that's how they were able to keep it under wraps. And I guess Rebecca Minkoff, she doesn't get a tagline because she's just a friend of and a Scientologist. No, I had to. All right. So Raquel says this: just like a painting, because she's an artist, you'll need a couple of looks to figure me out. I like that. I like it. It's clever. Just like a painting, you'll need a couple of looks to figure me out. I like it. I'm going to give that a 9. We had quite a few good ones for our Real Housewives of New York taglines for season. What season are we in? 15? I can't keep up. Anyways, that was our Real Housewives of New York taglines for this new season. You guys let me know how you would rate them from 1 to 10. Please. Okay? All right. So let's get into the mess. Let's get into the mess of other stuff in regards to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. If you're just joining us, guys, we just had to talk a little bit about RHONY, but there is some news that I want to talk about that is Real Housewives of Salt Lake City related. First of all, Mary Cosby and her confessional looks. First, let me see if I can bring these up so that you guys can see what I'm looking at. It's right here. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring these up so you guys can see Mary Cosby. And honestly, after watching last night's episode, I'm sort of like, the picture that Page 6 is using isn't exactly what Mary Cosby looks like. But I get it. Facetune of it all. So the top one is the Facetune version of Mary Cosby. And it definitely, I do find it interesting that some people love to claim some of their faves. Oh, that's what they look like. I can clearly see when people have Facetuned. I've Facetuned as well, but some people are very dramatic with it. Hey, Meredith. Okay? But you guys see me all the time here on video. You guys see me unedited. Good lighting, of course. Okay? But you see me in the wild as well. And these pictures that they're showing on Page 6 in regards to Mary Cosby face tuning, yes, it's definitely a face tune, but the picture that they chose is when she's making a face. And if you watch, what was it, Tuesday night? Wednesday night? I'm all mixed up, right? When does it air? Wednesday night. Because now with the return of all the Housewives stuff, they're all on different dates. I think it's on Tuesday nights. Yes. No, Wednesday nights. Yes, Salt Lake City. I can't keep up, y'all. And this is what's going to affect ratings. So, can we talk about the ratings for Salt Lake City? Wasn't great. And I know a lot of you are watching it on Peacock now, but still, not that many of you are watching it on Peacock. They had ratings in the numbers of Real Housewives of Dubai, but Dubai is only on their second season. Just saying. I didn't realize I had that much Real Housewives of Salt Lake City news to share for you. So the big story this week is Mary Cosby and her Facetune versus what we see in the confessional. But she's not the first. She's just not good at it. Are we surprised that Mary Cosby is not good at Facetuning? There are some housewives that are masters. And Meredith, you are not one of them because we clearly see what you're doing. Like Meredith shows up looking very, she probably had Meredith do this for her, but I don't know if they're speaking. You know, they have a rough season, so I don't know if they're speaking. Shout out to Sister on the Move. So Sister on the Move made me aware of this lawsuit. Did you guys hear about this lawsuit? This is like Mary Cosby reloaded here. So Mary Cosby in the Salt Lake Tribune, they're reporting that Real Housewife Mary Cosby is suing the people who ran the finances of her church. So one of the stars of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Mary Cosby, along with her husband / grandfather, stepdaddy, I don't remember, and their Pentecostal church is suing 2 executives of their church's business arm, accusing them of embezzling millions of dollars from the company and the church for years. Mary and Robert Cosby and their Faith Temple Pentecostal Church filed a lawsuit Wednesday in 3rd District Court in Salt Lake City against the United Security Financial Incorporation, the for-profit business wholly owned by the church, and 2 of its officers, Annie L. Johnson and Sean Turner. The Cosbys and Faith Temple are seeking damages totaling nearly $6.3 million. Mary Cosby is not poor. If you watch the episode, you get why I'm saying that, okay? In the complaint filed Wednesday, the Cosbys and Faith Temple also accused Johnson, USF's president, and Turner, the company secretary, of intimidating USF employees, forging Robert Cosby's signature, and using church funds for personal use. Did you guys see my video yesterday about Naomi Campbell? She's now denying any involvement in taking money from her charity. Of course she is. She wasn't very convincing, but that's what she said. Do I have the audio here? Wait, I'm gonna play the audio. Oh, damn, I don't know if I have it here. Oh, I thought I
just found out today about the findings, and I'm extremely concerned, and we are investigating on our side. As I was not in control of my charity, I put the control in the hands of a legal lawyer. And so we are investigating to find out what and how. As everything I do and every penny I ever raise goes towards charities. I just found out.
Okay. I'm sorry. We had to stick the sidebar because to me this was related. Back to Mary Cosby and her suing. Okay, so they continue. They said attempts to contact representatives for Johnson and Turner Wednesday were unsuccessful. The lawsuit identifies Robert Cosby as Faith Temple's bishop and president and Mary Cosby as the church's vice president, first lady, and evangelist. In one part of the lawsuit, Johnson is accused of taking title in her name of the church-owned radio station, and in 2017 starting to dismantle the station, demolishing the transmission tower, and canceling the station's FCC license. The complaint says that Johnson in 2020 transferred the station's property, worth more than $4.3 million at the time, to her son, who sold it to a third party. This is serious. With the proceeds going back to Johnson. Johnson is also accused of the complaint of commingling funds using a Faith Temple account to fund a USF mortgage on a property in Indiana that Johnson's husband sold to his cousin. That mortgage for $173,000 was never repaid to Faith Temple, the complaint says, and the total payoff with interest amounted to $421,912.40. I had a thought. Were they doing this stuff when Mary disappeared from the church? Remember the allegations? I have to give you the full of what the rumors were, that Mary would end up disappearing from the church months at a time. She would be in one of her properties. Is that when they were doing this? I don't know. I mean, you could be around all the time and people could steal from you. It happens all the time. The lawsuit also accuses Johnson of abusing USF employees and Faith Temple representatives with, quote, with intimidation, threats, verbal abuse, racial degradation, and physical abuse. According to the complaint, Johnson repeatedly told USF workers to cash the company's checks and give her the money, which she said would be given to Faith Temple, but was instead held by Johnson for personal use. The lawsuit claims at least $350,000 was taken that way. In what the complaint calls, quote, a form of money laundering. One accusation involves a loan Robert Cosby signed for $119,000 in August of 2005 to secure a property east of E9 Peak, a loan that was believed to have been paid off through refinancing in October of 2006. An audit, the complaint said, found that Johnson continued to make payments from November 2006 to November 2018 from the Cosby's personal checking account, which Johnson controlled. The final check to pay off the loan, according to the complaint, was sent from a company Turner owned to a USF account that was used for personal gain. The lawsuit says $126,611.10 was paid after the Cosbys believed the loan was paid off. There's a lot of just terrible things going on here. And I wonder how Mary Cosby and Robert Cosby found out about this. The complaint says a second mortgage on the same property for $99,217 was made in October of 2008 after Johnson forged Robert Cosby's signature. The lawsuit accuses Johnson of threatening the notary public into notarizing the fake signature. There's a lot of just debauchery happening here for a church. Johnson is further accused of paying $76,448.40 on the mortgage from Cosby's personal funds, but that the defendants later claimed, quote, there has not been a single payment made to this MTG. Turner, the complaint says, provided a payoff amount of $137,475.35 with no explanation of how this was determined. The Cosbys didn't learn of the second mortgage until last December, the complaint says. Also in the complaint, Johnson is accused of, quote, funneling sacred tithes and offerings from Faith Temple's congregants to herself to pay her American Express bill and other personal expenses. The lawsuit claims a ledger was discovered in July that documented in Johnson's handwriting payments made to Johnson totaling $90,670.32. You know they're going to ask Mary Cosby about this lawsuit during the reunion, and we're probably not going to get a clear answer. That's the only thing with Mary Cosby. Yes, she is problematic, funny at times, but we can never get a clear answer from her. And this seems so complicated, she's not going to be able to break down for us what exactly happened here. And remember, people have accused Mary and her cult, her church, of being a cult and misappropriating money. So it makes me wonder a couple of things. Was Mary allegedly doing that? And so other people were doing that, you know, the Tom Girardi of it all, where he was doing it, and then other people that worked with him were doing it, and he didn't know, and they were stealing from him? Or were these rumors of misappropriating money that fallen on the Cosbys actually Johnson? And is this Mary's way of rectifying why people have thought that about them for a long time? This is what I talk about when I say twerking on a fence. But I'm giving you all the options of what could possibly happen here. Which one do you believe? Which one do you think I believe? All right. See, this is why, for those that are listening to the audio version, why you need to watch the video version. Anyways, so they continue, and they said on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Mary Cosby is known for her honest, sometimes biting opinions and her love of fashion. Cosby returned to full-time status on the show this year. In the season 5 premiere that aired Wednesday, she's seen arriving in Dolce & Gabbana coat at a party where she parsed the difference between couture and costume. They know what they're doing here by adding this to the article. With new housewife Bronwyn Newport, who was wearing a $15,000 red heart-shaped Saint Laurent fur jacket. So they just had to add that last part for a reason. Mary Cosby, you know, for a woman of the church, we do know that Mary Cosby's grandmother had a lot of properties and businesses and things like that along with the church, and she inherited that when her grandmother passed away. She also inherited her husband, allegedly. That is interesting, messy, very messy. I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars that are missing. Millions of dollars that are missing here. But okay, we're going to continue to follow this story. I mean, as much as we can. Like I said, Mary Cosby is not a reliable reporter. When I say reliable reporter, she's not going to explain or be able to explain this to us the way that we need in layman's terms. All right, let me take a sip from my coldest water bottle as we get into our, finally, I know, 30 minutes in, and we're finally getting to the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap. But you know you wanted to know the details of what's been playing out in regards to offline and what's going on with RHONY. If you go to Coldest, they don't just have water bottles that keep your water cold for 36 plus hours. They also have sheets, things for your pets, pillows, ice packs, all kinds of things. Head on over to Coldest.com, but don't forget to use the discount code KEMPIRE10 for 10% off. All right, let's get into this. All right, so at the top of the episode, we have Bronwyn and Lisa driving around, and they're talking about things that played out in the first week's episode. Bronwyn doesn't love Britani. She didn't love Britani's reaction to her and things that Britani was saying to her. Lisa gets a phone call and she's like, you can't say anything, because Angie calls her and says, can we, meet up and talk about what went down at this Bezos get together, group event. Okay. Lisa's like, I'm running a few errands. I will. The errand that she's running is with Bronwyn and her dog, but then they pick up Heather. And this is when they end up talking about everything that's played out in the last episode. I'm a little tired of this fight because I feel like Lisa is dragging out this fight with Whitney. Look, Whitney didn't say the best things. However, you're arguing about her talking about you on the podcast. Okay, you can feel the way you're feeling, but it felt like, because even what, I don't know if Whitney said it in an interview, but basically she was like, you could have said this to me before the season even started, but you decided to wait until we started filming to bring it up. Okay. And Heather, you are such a pick-me. You've wanted to be Lisa's bestie since season 1. And we've said to you, you were a powerhouse and MVP in season 1. You didn't need Lisa, but you are still that girl in college, no matter what happens. And that's the thing, no matter what happens in your life, if you don't really heal the wounds of your mental, you will forever feel it because you haven't healed that. That's where it all ends and begins. And that's clear. She's like so excited to be driving in the back seat of Lisa's car. Anyways, so she's paying attention because they're having a conversation about what played out. And Bronwyn is giving her reaction to Whitney. She had hung out with Whitney and basically told Whitney what she thought of Whitney's reaction at this event. But when she's reenacting it in front of Heather is just like, And Heather's like, I think that's interesting. This is just Heather just being messy. I'm also very much aware of how people are if they're fake in front of me and they're a whole other way in front of someone else. However, it just felt like Heather was looking for a problem or looking to create something. We have to remember, I'm sure producers and the cast were a little concerned because a lot of you said after Monica Reality, Von Teese Garcia, Delgado, Fowler, Jussie Smollett, I forgot a few names. I'm sure after that, a lot of people were like, I'm not watching next season. You guys pushed her out. I'm not watching. So even last week I said this, I felt like everybody was performing at this dinner because I think everyone was desperate to make sure that this season was going to be stellar because they had such a good season last season. I mean, I'm going to give it credit. I enjoyed episode 1 and episode 2, but y'all are pressing on issues that I'm just like, y'all have nothing to talk about. Like, you are pressing on petty stuff. And yes, this is what we love about Housewives, but we love real petty stuff, not something that you're self-producing. And I could see through, and I know some people, and that's why I don't pay attention to the comment section, not my comment section, just comment sections in general. People like, oh my gosh, Salt Lake City is that girl, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's okay, because I can see through some of the BS that's being thrown, okay? Like the fact that Lisa, because even in this episode, Lisa and Whitney have a conversation by the end, and Whitney apologizes, and in Lisa's confession, she's like, yeah, she apologized, but I'm still mad. Okay. Because you need something to be mad about this season. You need a storyline. What is Lisa's storyline this season? We don't know yet. It's only episode 2. Speaking of needing a storyline, we've said this before about Meredith. Meredith, every season, grasps for some sort of storyline that's not her real story. Her relationship with Seth is so suspect. In season 1, we got a little bit of reality, like she's screwing every man in New York City or whatever it may be. I don't believe her and Seth are still screwing. I also don't think that her and Seth, that's another weird relationship. No wonder her and Caroline Stanberry get along. They're both in fake relationships. I said it. Look, I said it. Her storyline, I said, what in the Leah McSweeney is happening? I'm jumping around. I don't care. This is my review. I said, what in the damn Leah McSweeney is happening? Except she is Jewish. But she says, I decided that I am going to get bat mitzvahed. She's like, with all the anti-Semitism that's going on and and whatnot, I think this is important to me. No, it's not. I really believe that she wanted to use this as her storyline. And look, I'm going to give her kudos for a fantastic acting job. We even got a tear. You know, you always criticize these housewives for crying and no tears. We actually got a tear from her. I don't know how long it took them to get a tear from her. You know, in the edit, it seems very instant. And then you see Seth get emotional. I was just like, these two. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so we have, what else did they talk about in this car? So Heather was taken aback by Bronwyn's reaction towards Whitney. And she was sort of like, I've seen this before. And then he flashed back to Monica. I'm like, girl, you're so dramatic. So we get these little bit of flashes to Angie and her husband. And she's talking about what happened with Lisa and her husband's reaction. Her husband. Hey. His reaction was, he was like, you know, that was an intimidation tactic from Lisa and how she was acting. I can agree with that. Then they flashed to Mary Cosby at home with her son. Where's Robert Cosby? Remember there was a rumor that they were getting a divorce, but they're not. She denied that. So Mary Cosby in this scene with her son, so she's reiterating what her issues were with Britney, and she didn't love the fact that Britney called her poor. I mean, Britney didn't call her poor, but she did insinuate that maybe they both grew up similarly. And Mary Cosby's like, I did not grow up poor. I mean, I love that for her. I do. Anyway, she's like, you know, calling me poor. She's like, that's like being ungrateful to God. Okay. And her son is still living at home, unemployed. And if you've seen any of the side stories about Robert Jr., Mary, I know Mary did open up this week in regards to how she was parented. And it's interesting that she's trying to probably be a complete opposite of her mom. However, your raising of him, coddling Robert Jr. hasn't helped. Is Robert Jr. married? Is the young lady still living with you guys? Like, there's some serious allegations against Robert Jr. and the trouble that he got into legally. So you coddling him? And she says she's going to, you know, take care of him for now until she decides not to. How old is he? He's 20-something years old. I mean, he might need a little of assistance. I mean, the elevator doesn't seem like it goes all the way to the top with him. Just saying. All right. So we get Meredith and Seth's cooking class. I love that the fact that the chef was explaining to them that shashuka, because Meredith says, you know, isn't a Hebrew dish. And we talked about shashuka during our Real Housewives of New York recaps last season. And that's when I forgot, oh man, I'm so mad that I didn't remember to look this up. But we talked about this, that was originally not Hebrew. It was actually from another group. I can't remember. You guys will remind me in the live chat in the comment section. But I like the fact that the chef pointed that out. He didn't say what group, but he said, no, it was far before that. I still haven't had shashuka. Doesn't sound like something that I would enjoy like that. It didn't look delectable, but you guys say that it's good. Fine. This is when Meredith tells Seth, she's like, I decided I wanted to get bat mitzvahed. She says that in her family, they didn't make a big deal of it, especially for females. Her and her sister, they weren't pressured to get bat mitzvah, but now she feels a strong desire now while cameras are filming. I mean, how do you guys feel about it? I mean, this is going to be a lot of work for her. You know, she's got to learn the Hebrew prayers and everything like that. Fine. Look, fine. So Angie and Lisa finally meet up and they have a conversation about what went down. Lisa, here's the thing. When they flash back to when Angie tells Whitney about the conversation with Lisa and Heather, I don't feel like Angie spilled any major secret. She basically was just like, yeah, so Lisa has a problem with what you said in the podcast. It wasn't a secret. You literally confronted her with it when she came to your event. So it wasn't as if she spilled all of your tea. So I don't understand why you were so livid. It's not like she gave up some information that you told her not to share with anyone. You basically said what you were already going to use at your storyline, maybe because you wanted to be the first one to tell her, but it just felt like you were reaching, Lisa, like normal. So Lisa says that she felt hurt that Angie shared the combo, and she feels like she's always been a good friend to Angie, always defending Angie. Yeah, you were, but I do feel like you're very calculated. I feel like you were defending Angie because you wanted allies. Just saying. I do feel like Angie was sucking up to you last season because she wanted to be on the show. And she wanted to have an ally. Just saying. Anyways, so Lisa's just like, I can't change who I am. I'm mid, she started to say mid, but she's like late 40s. I'm not changing. So it gets a little heated between them. So we already see a crack in the surface when it comes to their friendship. But are we surprised? Is anyone really surprised that there's a crack in this friendship? Because I didn't believe that there was a deep friendship. Sidebar. It's related to Salt Lake City. Calm down. I saw Angie selling her big, beautiful home. I forgot. I think she's selling it for like $4-point-something million. Angie's got money. Angie's got real money. Okay, we even see in this episode Angie and Bronwyn hanging out at her new salon, her 10th salon. Okay, anyways, so the conversation between Angie and Lisa doesn't end well, but I'm not surprised. Lisa is unbearable. I do see that Angie's trying to associate herself with everyone in the group. She's not trying to just be one person soldier, which I can appreciate this season. And I appreciated her scroll last week. Okay. But Angie does come across a little bit of a people pleaser, come across a little bit like a pick me, very much. Maybe that's why her and Heather get along. But at least with Angie, I feel like Angie also has her own sort of, yes, I'm going to do what I need to do to associate with certain people in this group, but she still has like her own cool factor. You know, she's a business owner. She knows how to dress. She has her own money. Heather, not so much. Heather has an all-around pick-me energy. I see a little bit of pick-me in Angie. Not a little bit. I see a good quarter of pick-me in Angie, but I feel like Heather is 98% pick-me. That's Kempire math for you, okay? All right, so that conversation doesn't end well. Then we go at home with Bronwyn. I'm enjoying learning more about Bronwyn. I'm trying to understand her house. I'm glad the interior designer came over. When they opened the door and I saw the snow, I said, where are we? Are they having a blizzard in Salt Lake City? But I'm assuming that's just a normal day in Salt Lake City. So we learn a lot more about her husband. And her husband is rich. He's rich. And I know you guys are so easily impressed by rich people on the show. That's why some of you watch Real Housewives, which is fine. That's not why I watch. However, I can enjoy it. Her home, even her interior designers is like, did you just buy everything that was on the sales floor? They did. She bought him a Louis Vuitton gift. He was very appreciative. I like those little trunks. Those little trunks of Louis Vuitton. I know it looks small to you, but the trunks from Louis Vuitton are expensive. Even that little one. Because the big one is like, oh my gosh, like $20-something thousand. Just saying. So I can only imagine that little one was probably like, I don't even know. I'm not going to even guess. I just know it was several thousand. So she gets her husband a little bit of a gift. But again, in our second week, we're learning a little bit more about Bronwyn. All right. I'm just paying attention to her home. The interior designer comes over. There's an art piece that they bought. They've lived in this house for a year and a half, but it's not fully decorated. We could tell the walls is like, there's so much potential to do with this home. But they have, and I've seen this art piece before, but this is another version of the art piece with the stacked chairs. She said they've had that for a year and a half. They got it after they closed on the house, but they haven't taken it out yet. So we learned a little bit more about her husband. He was a part member. For those you have to be of a particular age, and I know we have a whole range of people that watch our live recaps. Shout out to all of you that I've been seeing in the wild. I feel like every time now that I've been out in the streets of New York City, I've been running into so many people. I'm like, thank you. Shout out to the people that saw me. When was it? Thursday morning. I was, first of all, late for an appointment. I wasn't rude to anybody, but I feel like sometimes I want to engage more, but then I'm like, I'm on the train and I'm trying like, am I going to the right spot? But I'm in a new area, so I'm sort of like, am I in the right train? Da da da. Then it's hot and steamy on the subway, and I'm like, thank you. And sometimes when people come up to me, I don't know if you're coming up to me to ask me directions or something like that, because that happens too. It's New York, and I look Dominican to some people, so they'll come up to me speaking Spanish. That happened to me last week or the week before, but I helped her. I figured it out. We used Google Translate, but I think they came up to me thinking, oh, that happens a few times, speaking Spanish to me. Welcome to New York. But I don't. Just a little. All right. What was I saying? Okay. I've digressed. See, this is what happens when you digress. So, back to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I feel like I wanted to mention something and I can't remember what it was. Oh, the Palm Pilot. So if you're a particular age, I know we have a whole assortment of people that watch, but you have to be of a particular age to know what a Palm Pilot is. So apparently he was the CEO of Palm that created the Palm Pilot. So he was in the tech industry making money. Now he's the head of a hedge fund. More money. First of all, Bronwyn, she's killing it. Like Angie kills it in regards to checking off all the boxes like she told us last season. But Bronwyn does too. She's giving us fashion. I like her personality. She's got money. All right. She's got a kooky situation, a kooky house too. I'm here for it. All right, let's move on. Because this was a supersized episode. When I looked at it on Peacock, I was like, oh my God, this is literally like almost an hour, which is another reason why this recap is late. I was like, this is an hour for me to rewatch. I watched it the night it aired, and then I had to rewatch it. I was like, oh my God, this is an hour. It's not like 42 minutes, like I'm used to. Those 10, 15 minutes make a big difference. All right. Moving on. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. This is our weekly recap of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Don't forget to like the video, like I said, but also don't forget to subscribe to the Kempire podcast, where you will hear an audio version of this live recap. But at the end of this recap, I will be talking about my experience at the Maxwell concert featuring October London and Jasmine Sullivan. You'll hear it first. Also, you will hear the recap of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City first on the Kempire podcast before you watch this. All right, moving on. So Heather, mind you, Heather was slamming Whitney at this a group event, but all of a sudden she wants to be a martyr and be like, I'm going to have a conversation with Whitney. So she meets up with Whitney, and she's like, she denies that it was a gang up. That they did. It was a clear gang up. Like, I'm not a Whitney fan, even though we need to give Whitney credit. Her confessionals last season, this season, she's funny. She's definitely funny. I know we give credit to certain other people, but Whitney, for me, her confessionals are top tier. So Heather denies that it was a gang up. Whitney says if Lisa had listened to her, she wouldn't have to go. She wouldn't have to hear that on a podcast. Then they talk about facts versus feelings. Whitney says that Bronwyn was super supportive, which for Heather, she was like, super supportive, because she flashed back to when she was in the car and she saw what Bronwyn was saying about Whitney. So, of course, Heather's going to run with this at the later event. Okay? All right. So Heather's confused by when Whitney says that in regards to Bronwyn. I feel like she was just looking for an issue with Bronwyn. Do you think that Heather, now that I think about the pick-me of it all, do you think that Heather is bothered that, because Lisa sort of fangirled Bronwyn. Remember when they first met years ago, she was sort of like how Heather is towards Elisa. So maybe that's why Heather doesn't like Bronwyn. It's not about the whole Whitney of it all. It feels like, oh, you're not going to infringe upon my friendship with this woman. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm not saying it's fact. Okay. All right. So we then get this scene with Meredith and her kids at home. So boring. I'm sorry. And you know how they were trying to make Brooks a thing, and you know that Brooks is filming that show with the other reality TV kids. Not interested. He has the personality of drying paint. Sorry, I said it. So does Meredith, though. But Meredith has given us some funny confessional moments too, and moments. You can leave. Just saying. I'm disengaging. Whatever. So she talks about Whitney's bath bomb. She impersonates Whitney's bath bomb voice. The kids are like, "Oh my god, I love when you do that." So Meredith is also working on her own bath bombs, and she's very much involved. She doesn't slap her name on just anything. Fine. Okay. Then she tells her kids that she's going to be bat mitzvahed, and they're like, huh? Why would you do that? She explains why she's going to do that. She did tell her husband about it. Fun. Move on. Okay. Brittany and Heather meet up. This is what I loved about the scene. I could care less about pickleball, but every housewife is doing it right now, all right? So she met Britney through Angie Harrington. Angie Harrington just is always brought up. And Britney's ex-husband and Jared, her boyfriend, on-again, off-again boyfriend, ex-fiance, got together. And that's how they commiserated together, and that's how they ended up falling in love. I don't know about falling in love. And they flash back to a scene where he refers to Britney as his best friend. Okay. But this is what I do value in Heather Gay. Heather has really taught us a lot about what it feels like to be a Mormon wife, like a very strict Mormon wife. And every season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I feel like I learned so much more about Mormon culture, and not the culture that y'all learned on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Like, they don't even compare. That's what I can appreciate about Salt Lake City ladies. Like, I feel like, no, we're really learning here because they're grown too, all right? And they really grew up in this religion. And quite a few of the women on this cast are Mormon. Bronwyn, Heather, I don't know if she considers herself Mormon anymore. Lisa Barlow. Who else? Brittany, Bronwyn. It doesn't matter. Who cares? I mean, it's a diverse cast religiously too. Jewish, Pentecostal. We got Greek Orthodox. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Okay. Anyways, but they explained something here that stood out to me because Brittany has an estrangement from her kids, and she talks about how she sacrificed her kids for her relationship. And Heather in her confession is like, I can relate to that because in Mormonism, you can get to heaven without kids, but you can't get into heaven without a man, according to Mormonism. I was like, that is interesting because it's going to give us a perspective. Because I think people probably would have looked at Britney and her relationship with her kids very much like a Tamra and her kids or anyone else that have estrangement with their children. I think people are going to look at it a little bit differently now that Heather has added that element of like, well, no, you're indoctrinated within this religion to believe a husband, a man is the most important thing, even above your children. So I was like, for me, I don't care about the pickleball. I don't care about anything else you guys are talking about. I can really appreciate the lesson that was learned here in regards to Mormonism, your relationship with your children, which makes me wonder how that has impacted Heather and her daughters, because what we've seen and enjoyed about Heather and her daughters is how close they are. And maybe she's been very intentional because she is aware of how she was indoctrinated to prioritize her husband, which she refers to in the scene as like the most terrible marriage ever. Okay. Then we get the scene with Angie and Bronwyn. We get an update in regards to Angie. They've opened their 10th salon. They're making all the kinds of money. I'm happy for her. That's fantastic. That is truly fantastic. So Bronwyn comes to get her hair done at the salon, and they end up catching up. It was a love affair between Angie and Bronwyn. It was a true love affair. They're just talking about back and forth, like, oh, when I met you, I loved you. I thought you had a great energy. And just like, I was a little concerned that you might be upset or look at me differently because of what went down. I know you're close with Lisa. Bronwyn, I'm looking at you a little with the side eye. I know you were transparent with Whitney with what you said, but I do notice that you say things that could be considered a little two-faced. Because even what she said about Lisa in this conversation about like, well, all the things that Whitney said were true. I was like, oh. Okay. All right. Are you gonna say that to Lisa's face? Okay. But she really appreciated, Brown really appreciated that Angie, she said, a lot of people see my husband a certain way, but when Angie met him, she immediately saw that soft side, that thing that I love about him. And I was like, okay. So they had a little bit of a love affair in this conversation, and I thought that was really interesting. Angie brings up the fact that she was speaking with Brittany, and Brittany was still talking about Bronwyn's outfit. And Bronwyn was just like, basically saying that Brittany's dumb. And look, I don't know Brittany, but based on the edit and what they've shown us of Brittany, she doesn't seem like the brightest person. Okay? Bronwyn says she couldn't even spell YSL. That joke probably went over Brittany's head too. She's like, I can spell YSL. Why? Oh. SL. There we go. Oh. Whoa, Brittany. I like Brittany though. I like her so far. I mean, when I say I like her, I'm like, she's still, as a friend of, there's a lot of conversation about her. She has an interesting story. I'm interested. All right, let's get to the group event, because Whitney told Heather in their scene that she wants to, get the group together to go to Milwaukee, right? It was Milwaukee for this drag event that she's going to be hosting. Okay? And that's when Heather says, well, maybe I'll host something first to kind of get things going between you and the other ladies. Mary can't stand Brittany. So Brittany arrived and she's like, oh my gosh, she's here. Brittany says that I was just trying to relate to her in regards to referring to Mary as, I was poor too. Mary's like, I can't relate to being poor, madam. I didn't grow up like that. And when you look at Mary's life, she really didn't grow up like that. She didn't grow up poor, at least based on what we know of Mary. She's like, I did not grow up poor. So she is so offended by that. Multiple times it's mentioned during this episode. All right. So the group ends up doing these like tightrope events. Meredith says, I can't do it. I have tennis elbow. It's from churning butter. And everyone thinks that she's making a sexual innuendo. No. Nothing's happening sexual between Meredith and Seth. Okay? Anyways, so they're doing it. Even Mary Cosby is doing it. Lisa's like, thank you, Mary, for being so supportive. And then Whitney's friend is like, yes, let's go, sis. She's like, and Lisa's like, I haven't heard the word sis this much ever. She's like, oh, I know, I say it a lot. I don't know who this woman is. She's pretty though. Look, she's pretty though. Anyways, I'm really surprised. I even wrote down everyone walks the tightrope, even Mary. Anyways, so they do all of that. They're talking all kinds of X-rated around these young kids. Then we have Brittany make an announcement. So they sit down to eat, and Brittany makes an announcement. I thought it was weird, Brittany, too. She makes an announcement that her and Jared are officially boyfriend and girlfriend. And they're Instagram official. So everyone's a little confused. So they go to Instagram. He's like, me and my best friend at Costco. Costco's a lot in the news this week. The Diddy of it all. They had to denounce, like, yeah, we are not a part of the whole baby oil Costco conversation. Like, no, he did not get baby oil from us. That's what you think. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Anyways, so Mary Cosby is like, I want to understand why I want to know, why do we care about you and this man going Instagram official? Mind you, the entire table is like, this is not Instagram official. He basically referred to you as the best friend. So people are concerned that Brittany in this relationship, first of all, they've broken up how many times in a matter of months? I think they got together again because of what their exes did. So they commiserated together, but maybe it's not. I mean, they're a sexy couple. I will give that to them. They are a good looking couple together, but sometimes it's just that. And maybe you should just call it that. I don't see this couple making it, to be honest with you. So I'm not that invested. But I did find it weird when Britani had to make, I thought she was going to say something of value. She's like, well, Jared and I are now boyfriend and girlfriend for the 18th time. Girl, and we're Instagram official. So Mary Cosby's like, what? She's like, why do we even, I'm trying to understand why we care. And Britney's just like, that's rude, Mary. It's rude, but I speak for the audience. Weren't you wondering the same thing? Why do we care about you and this man? Please explain to us. She can't. She can't. All right. Where else do we? Oh, so more stuff happens between Britani and Mary because Britani then talks about her poor relationship with her estrangement from her kids. And Mary's just like, she's triggered by Britani because she's reminded of her own mom and how her mom chose a man over her 5 kids. And she says that's why she's the way she is with Robert Jr. I was like, oh. I was like, all right. That's interesting. I mean, I have to give it to Mary. You know, we all talked about how she wasn't engaging last season, but she still gave us funny moments. This season, she's on a tightrope, y'all. She's on a tightrope. She's engaging. Like, this is only episode 2. And we're learning about her personal story. She's talking about her mom. You remember the interview her mom did. I almost forgot about that. I wonder if we're going to do another interview now that she's talking about them. Anyways, and now that there's a lawsuit, let me not give people ideas. All right. So Heather tries to call out Bronwyn for being hypocritical. All right, we knew this was coming. As soon as Heather mentioned it in her confessional, I was like, oh, here she go. And Bronwyn's just like, I don't feel like I said anything that I didn't already say to Whitney. And Whitney was like, well, based off of what Heather is saying, it doesn't sound like Bronwyn did anything that I didn't know she said. And again, Heather wasn't there when she said it to Whitney. So it could be some of that. Fine. But then Lisa gets involved and Bronwyn feels as if Lisa doesn't have her back. It's already brewing a fight between these two. Lisa doesn't have anyone's back. She barely has her own husband's back. Never mind any of you ladies. I don't feel like any of these women are friends in real life. Let me think about that. Who are real friends on this cast? See, this is the problem with reality television. This is what I can appreciate about the Real Housewives of Miami. You see Marisol and Alexia hanging out. They were just here in New York City. You see Dr. Nicole, Gertie, Adriana. All of these women are hanging out. Kiki hanging out when they're not filming. And it's just like, a lot of these shows, we see Garcelle and Sutton and all the ladies hanging out in real life when not filming. I'm trying to think about Salt Lake City. We don't really see these women hanging out. And I know, this is reality television. This is Real Housewives. They always do this. Well, I've known this person since blah, 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 blah. So some of y'all fall for it. Like, no, that's like her real friend. They've been friends since they probably knew each other. They probably were acquaintances back then. I don't believe that Lisa Barlow and Angie were tight. I don't believe that Lisa and Bronwyn were tight. I think they just knew of each other. And yes, maybe they hung out with each other because their kids like each other, because they talk about Bronwyn's daughter. Bronwyn's daughter is trying to open up a cafe. So I don't believe that anyone's tight, which could be the downfall of this show. Because I'm not feeling a real connection between any of these people. Like, who's really enjoying? If anything, I appreciated, but this is a new friendship. Mary Cosby and Angie K. I can see Angie K and Bronwyn getting along. But again, these are new friendships. And Angie K and Mary Cosby did hang out outside the show. I'm kind of liking their kooky relationship, but Angie, don't turn your back because Mary Cosby likes you 1 minute, the next minute she doesn't like you. So I'm not that invested in this bromance or cismance because I know how Mary Cosby can be. For sidebar, I'm glad my elephant brain's on tonight. Um, Mary Cosby in the comments she was making when she went to get food, she was just like, yeah, I don't want to eat that. 'Cause I forgot what she says. She doesn't want to have to go poop. And I was just, some of her commentary, I was just like, just no filter. This is what Housewives, this is what producers and networks appreciate about Mary Cosby. There's no filter. This is why she will say problematic things. So Bronwyn is feeling sort of like left behind when it comes to Lisa Barlow. Whitney is refers to Lisa as an I can't say the curse word, but an ishy friend. Okay. And they're just arguing about this podcast, but Whitney ends up apologizing to Lisa, but Lisa in her confession is like, she apologized, but I'm still mad. And then Meredith is like, I didn't get an apology. I wanted an apology. Yeah, you need a storyline, Meredith, because what is your real story? Like, I don't get authentic from Meredith. It's been since season 1. I'm trying to understand, why are you here? You're not giving us anything authentic. Maybe the bathtub. Maybe her being in the bathtub is authentic to her. But other than that, the rentals is a metaphor for Meredith. Nothing is real. Nothing is like, she doesn't have any roots anywhere. Just saying. Meredith wants an apology. So this episode ends with them arguing about this apology. And really, I'm already over Whitney and Lisa Barlow arguing over this podcast that she did. It's not like she said terrible things. If anything, you probably should be more mad at Heather and her talking about how you raised your son last season and how he's not that Mormon. Like, that's something to be really upset about. Not what she said about you in a podcast. Just saying. And like I said last week, I feel like that might have been strategic so that you guys had something to argue about this season. Yeah, these housewives are pre-producing, y'all. And it's very telling. It's very telling. But some of y'all fall for it, and it's fine. If you fall for it, you fall for it. I'm not falling for it. Just saying. But that's me. That's me. Have you liked the video yet? It's important. The next part of our podcast version of this will be me talking about the Maxwell concert here in New York City. So if you want to hear it, make sure you subscribe to the Kempire podcast. But I'm going to end our Real Housewives of Salt Lake City there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And be sure to let me know how you would rate this week's episode of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Let me know how you would rate the Real Housewives of New York's taglines as well. Let's just continue this conversation in the comment section. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to our channel members. Become a member today at TheKempire.com/join. And of course, thank you to our subscribers and those of you watching in the bushes. We appreciate you guys as well. Bye, y'all.